They say the gym is where you build strength, but I never imagined it would be where I'd find the courage to finally tell the truth to myself and to the woman I'd loved in silence for years. This is a love story that began with a favor, grew with every heartbeat, and bloomed in the most unexpected way. The sun was dipping lower in the sky, casting long, lazy shadows across my living room. I was sprawled out on the couch, one hand resting on my stomach, the other absently flipping through channels. Nothing caught my attention, just the usual noise filling the silence of another evening alone. Then my phone buzzed on the coffee table. I glanced at the screen, and a small smile tugged at my lips. Maya. My heart did that familiar little jump it always did when I saw her name. I hesitated for just a moment, letting the phone buzz one more time before I picked it up. "Hey, you," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, casual. "Emily!" Maya's voice came through warm and upbeat, like sunshine breaking through clouds. "What's up? You busy?" I glanced at my half-empty bag of chips and the TV blaring some reality show I wasn't even watching. "Not really. What's going on?" There was a pause. I could almost picture her on the other end, scratching the back of her neck the way she always did when she was unsure about something. "Look, I've got a favor to ask," she said finally. "I know you're not big on the gym scene, but I kind of need a workout, buddy." I couldn't help but laugh softly. "You? Miss Fitness Guru needing a workout buddy?" "Yeah, yeah," she replied, and I could hear the embarrassment in her tone. "It's just, I've been slacking lately. Motivation's low, and it's kind of boring on my own. Plus, I figured it might be good for you too. Get you off that couch once in a while." I rolled my eyes but couldn't suppress the warmth spreading through my chest. Spending time with her sounded like a dream, even if it involved me flailing around with weights and looking like a complete fool. "Are you sure you want to drag me along?" I asked. "I'm not exactly built for heavy lifting." She chuckled, and I could hear her grin through the phone. "Don't worry, I'll go easy on you. We'll start slow. I promise not to break you." I bit back the automatic thought that popped into my head, a playful, almost flirtatious retort. Instead, I cleared my throat. "All right, I'm in. When do you want to go?" "How about tomorrow evening? I'll pick you up after work. I'll even buy you a protein shake after. Deal?" "Deal." When we hung up, I dropped my phone onto the couch beside me, trying to keep my cool. My heart was still racing, though. I hadn't expected her to reach out like that. And now I was mentally cataloging all the ways this could go wrong. Or right. Maya had been my friend since college. A laid-back, athletic woman with a smile that could light up a stadium and a cascade of dark curls, she was always tying back in messy ponytails. She somehow managed to be both effortlessly charming and completely oblivious to how attractive she was. My little crush on her had started way back then, and had been quietly thriving ever since. I never expected much from it. I'd learned to live with the ache of wanting someone I couldn't have. But every interaction still sparked that faint, hopeful thrill deep in my chest. There was something different about the way she'd ask tonight, though. Maybe it was just my imagination, but I couldn't help replaying her words. "I'll go easy on you." Was it just a casual tease? Or was there something else beneath it? I didn't want to get ahead of myself, but the possibilities were already spiraling through my mind. I knew working out with Maya wouldn't be easy, mostly because just being near her always made it hard to think straight. But at the same time, I couldn't pass up the chance to spend time with her. Even if it was just at the gym, surrounded by weights and sweaty bodies, it would be our time. I tried to shake off the giddy excitement and force myself to focus on more practical things, like finding a pair of gym shorts that didn't make me look like a complete disaster. As the evening stretched on, I kept catching myself smiling, the thought of tomorrow lingering at the forefront of my mind. For now, it was just a workout, just two friends hanging out. I couldn't afford to expect more, but that didn't mean I couldn't enjoy every second of it. The gym was busier than I'd expected. Machines clanked, weights thudded against rubber mats, and a low hum of conversation mixed with the rhythm of treadmills. Maya led the way, her gym bag slung over one shoulder, greeting a couple of familiar faces as we walked in. She seemed completely at ease. This was her domain, her playground. Me? I was trying not to look like I'd wandered in by accident. You good? Maya asked, glancing back at me with that easy smile. Yeah, just taking it all in, I replied, trying to mask my nerves. We stashed our bags in a locker and made our way to the stretching area. The floor was padded, the walls lined with mirrors reflecting rows of people warming up. Maya dropped her mat beside mine, stretching out with the casual grace of someone who'd done this 1,000 times before. I tried to mimic her movements, feeling stiff and awkward. She chuckled. Here, like this. She shifted onto her knees and reached for my arm, guiding it gently into position. Her hands were warm and firm, fingertips pressing lightly against my shoulder as she adjusted my posture. There you go. Better? She asked, her face inches from mine. I swallowed hard and nodded, avoiding her gaze. We continued stretching, our mats side by side, our shoulders brushing every so often. Each touch was like a flicker of electricity, quick and subtle, but enough to make my breath catch. I kept my eyes forward, focusing on the mirror, watching as she stretched her arms overhead, her tank top riding up just enough to reveal a sliver of toned skin. All right, she said, clapping her hands together. Time to get started. She led me over to the dumbbells first, handing me a pair that felt heavier than I'd anticipated. Just some light curls to start, she instructed, demonstrating with perfect form. Her muscles flexed smoothly, her expression focused. I mirrored her, though I was pretty sure I looked like I was struggling. You're doing good, she said, her eyes crinkling with a grin. Just keep your elbows tucked in. I tried, but I could feel my arms shaking. Without warning, she stepped behind me, her hands lightly gripping my elbows, pushing them inward. Like this, she murmured, her voice right by my ear. I stiffened, the warmth of her hands seeping through my shirt. She held them there for a second longer than necessary, then stepped back, her hands dropping to her sides. I exhaled, not realizing I'd been holding my breath. We moved through the workout with her, demonstrating each exercise first, then stepping in to adjust my form when I messed up, which was more often than not. Squats were next, and I felt ridiculous until Maya came over, pressing her hands to my hips, repositioning me. Keep your back straight, she said, her hands firm on my waist. I did as I was told, but the sensation of her touch lingered. I could smell her perfume, a faint, clean scent mixed with sweat, and it took everything in me to stay focused. Good, she said, finally, giving my shoulder a light pat. You might actually survive this. I rolled my eyes, shaking out my legs. Was that your version of a compliment? She laughed, and the sound was bright and genuine. You're doing better than I thought you would. We continued through the sets, occasionally pausing for water breaks. Between reps, we joked around, sharing stories from college, embarrassing moments at parties, dumb things we did as kids. It felt natural, easy, like this wasn't the first time we'd done it. Man, I'm beat, I finally said, flopping down onto a bench after our last set. My arms felt like jelly, and my legs weren't much better. Maya dropped down beside me, wiping the sweat from her brow. Told you I'd go easy. I gave her a look. That was easy? She grinned, leaning back and stretching her arms across the backrest, her hand casually brushing my shoulder. For me? Yeah, but you did good. There was a pause, the sound of weights clanking around us filling the space. Her arm stayed where it was, draped across the bench, her fingers just barely grazing my shoulder. She didn't seem to notice, or maybe she did, and just didn't mind. We sat there for a moment longer before she pushed herself up, offering me her hand. Same time next week? I took it, her grip firm and reassuring. Yeah, I'm down. Her smile widened, and I felt that familiar flutter again. I pushed it away, shoving my water bottle back into my bag. Just maybe don't kill me next time. She laughed, slinging her gym bag over her shoulder. No promises. As we walked out together, I couldn't help but feel that something had shifted. The touches had lingered a bit longer. The laughs had been a bit softer. Maybe I was imagining it, or maybe not. But whatever it was, I was ready for more. The gym felt different this time. It was the same as before, clanking weights, the low hum of conversations, the sharp tang of sweat and metal, but there was something else. A kind of buzz that seemed to linger in the air. Or maybe it was just me, overthinking everything. Maya was already at the bench when I walked in, her hoodie tossed carelessly onto the rack, water bottle in hand. She caught sight of me and grinned, waving me over. "Ready to level up?" I scoffed, dropping my bag beside hers. "Level up? This isn't a video game." "It's going to feel like one by the time we're done." She tossed me a protein bar. "Eat up. You're going to need it." We started with the usual warm-ups, stretching side by side. This time, though, there was less casual conversation and more focus. Her hands found my waist again, correcting my posture as I stretched my arms overhead. "Don't arch your back so much," she said, her breath warm against my ear. "You'll hurt yourself." I swallowed hard, nodding without turning around. Her hands lingered just a moment longer than necessary before she stepped back. "All right, bench press," she announced, clapping her hands together. "You're going for more weight today." I raised an eyebrow. "Am I?" "Yes, you are," she smirked. "Last time you barely broke a sweat." "That's a lie." "Is it?" She leaned down, adding more weight to the bar without waiting for my approval. I watched as she loaded the plates, my mind replaying the last session, her hands on my shoulders, her laugh echoing in my ears. When she was done, she patted the bench. "Come on, let's see what you've got." I slid under the bar, my hands wrapping around the cold metal. Maya stood behind me, her hands hovering just above mine. "I'm spotting you, so don't wimp out." "I'm not going to wimp out." "Good." I pushed up, the bar wobbling slightly before I steadied it. Maya leaned closer, her hands brushing mine as she adjusted my grip. "There you go," she murmured, her voice low and encouraging. Slow and steady. The bar dipped, then rose, my muscles straining with the weight. I could feel the tension in my arms, the burn in my shoulders, but all I could focus on was the warmth of her hands hovering so close to mine, the way her breath fanned against my neck when she leaned down to check my form. "2 more," she said, her hands never leaving their spot above mine. I pushed, my teeth clenched, sweat dripping down my forehead. "That's it. 1 more." My muscles screamed, but I forced the bar up one last time. Maya caught it, guiding it back onto the rack. "See? I told you you could do it." I sat up, wiping my brow. "Yeah, barely," she laughed, handing me a water bottle. "That's what it's all about. Pushing past your limits." She took a seat beside me, stretching her arms across the backrest, her fingers brushing my shoulder. I tried not to read into it, but the contact was there, warm and lingering. We went through the rest of the workout like that, her pushing me harder, her hands correcting my posture, her voice low and encouraging. Sweat slicked our skin. Breaths came harder, and every brush of her hand felt deliberate, even if it wasn't. When we finally finished, both of us collapsed onto the bench, chests heaving, sweat dampening our shirts. She handed me my water bottle, her fingers grazing mine in a way that made my heart stutter. I took a long drink, feeling the cool liquid slide down my throat. "Not bad," she said finally, her voice softer than before. "You really kept up this time." "Thanks," I replied, setting the bottle down between us. "Didn't think I would." "You always do better than you think you will." Her gaze was steady, eyes catching mine. For a moment, we just sat there, silence stretching long and unbroken. Her hand was still on the backrest, her fingertips just brushing my shoulder. I looked at her, really looked at her, and the air seemed to shift thicker, heavier. Her eyes searched mine for something, and I found myself leaning just a fraction closer before I realized what I was doing. She blinked, her eyes flickering down to my mouth for the briefest second before she cleared her throat and looked away, the tension snapping back into place. "Same time next week?" she asked, her voice casual but just a little strained. I swallowed, nodding. "Yeah, definitely." We stood up, collecting our things in silence. As we walked out, her hand found my shoulder one last time, giving it a squeeze. "Proud of you today," she said, her smile genuine. "Thanks," I managed to reply, my heart still hammering in my chest. As we parted ways, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. Subtle, maybe even unspoken, but it was there. I could still feel the warmth of her hands, the ghost of her touch lingering long after she left. My apartment was comfortably cool after the intensity of the gym. I tossed my gym bag onto the chair and stretched out on the couch, my muscles still humming with fatigue. Maya dropped beside me, a low groan escaping her as she leaned back, hands running through her damp hair. "That was brutal," she chuckled, her head resting against the back of the couch. "You were the one who wanted to push harder?" I shot back, grabbing 2 bottles of water from the side table and tossing her one. "Yeah, well, I didn't think you'd actually keep up." She cracked the bottle open, taking a long, grateful sip. Her throat bobbed as she swallowed, and I looked away quickly, focusing on my own drink. We sat in silence for a bit, the only sounds the hum of the ceiling fan and the distant chatter of city life outside the window. It was a comfortable kind of silence, one that didn't need filling, but after a while, the quiet stretched, and Maya turned to me, her eyes more thoughtful than usual. "Can I ask you something?" Her voice was softer, almost hesitant. I shrugged, trying to seem nonchalant despite the sudden shift in her tone. "Sure. You ever think about, you know, relationships?" Her gaze was fixed on her water bottle, her thumb rubbing along the label. My heart did a little stutter step. "Sometimes. Why?" She exhaled a laugh, rubbing the back of her neck. "I don't know. Just been thinking about it more lately." I leaned back, stretching my legs out in front of me. "Yeah? I didn't think you were the type to get all introspective." "Neither did I." She laughed again, but it was softer, almost strained. She stared at the ceiling, then back at me. "What about you? You dating anyone?" I hesitated, the words catching in my throat. I could feel the weight of the moment, the way her eyes were locked on mine, waiting. I swallowed hard, choosing my words carefully. "Not really. Haven't found the right person, I guess." She nodded slowly, her gaze thoughtful. "So, you're into girls, right?" My breath hitched. I hadn't expected it to come out like that, so direct, so unfiltered. I looked at her, my heart pounding, waiting for any sign of judgment, of discomfort. But she just sat there, watching me with the same calmness she always had. "Yeah," I said finally, my voice steady. "I am." She nodded again, almost as if that was the answer she'd been expecting. "Cool." "Cool?" I repeated, my eyebrows raising slightly. She shrugged, her gaze dropping back to her water bottle. "Yeah, I mean, it doesn't change anything." I relaxed, the tension in my shoulders melting away. "I appreciate that." She paused, then leaned forward, setting her water bottle down on the table. Her hands rested on her knees, fingers laced together. "Actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about something." The way she said it, the way her voice dropped just a bit, made my heart stutter again. I leaned forward, mirroring her posture. "What's up?" She hesitated, her jaw clenching slightly. I could see the conflict there, the words fighting their way out. Finally, she blew out a breath, shaking her head. "I don't know. Lately I've been feeling weird." "Weird how?" I prompted, trying to keep my voice steady. She scratched the back of her head, her eyes fixed on the floor. "I don't know. Like, I never really thought about girls before, but these past few weeks, I don't know. It's been different, especially when we're working out." My mouth went dry. I wasn't sure what to say, if I should even say anything. But she kept going, her voice softer now. I don't understand it. I'm not even sure what I'm feeling half the time. But when we're at the gym or hanging out like this, I don't know. I swallowed hard, the air feeling thicker all of a sudden. Maya. She looked up, her eyes meeting mine with an intensity I wasn't prepared for. I'm not saying I know what it means, she added quickly. I just, I feel like I had to tell someone. And you. I don't know. You're the only one I trust with this. My chest tightened, warmth spreading through me that I couldn't quite explain. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words were tangled up inside me. Instead, I just nodded, hoping she could see the understanding in my eyes. Thanks, she said finally, her shoulders relaxing just a little. I don't know what's going on with me, but thanks for listening. Anytime, I replied softly, my heart still hammering. We sat there for a while longer, the silence stretching out between us. It wasn't awkward, it was just full. Like everything unsaid was still hanging in the air, waiting for its moment. I had no idea what would happen next, but I knew one thing for sure. Something had definitely changed. The gym was quieter than usual, almost eerily so. The usual clank of weights and chatter of gym-goers was replaced with soft echoes bouncing off concrete walls. Maya and I had pushed our workout later than normal, mostly because she insisted we catch the evening vibes. Look at this, she said, stretching her arms out wide as we walked into the stretching area, which was completely deserted. We've got the whole place to ourselves. Guess everyone else has better things to do on a Friday night, I replied, dropping my water bottle to the floor and sitting cross-legged on one of the mats. She chuckled, grabbing another mat and unrolling it beside me. Maybe we're the dedicated ones. I rolled my eyes. Or the desperate ones. She flopped down next to me, stretching her legs out in front of her. You're just saying that because I made you do an extra set of squats. My legs are still on fire. Thanks for that. You're welcome. She grinned, then leaned forward to touch her toes, muscles flexing under the thin fabric of her shirt. I tried not to look, tried not to notice the way her back curved, the stretch of her arms, but it was impossible. We moved through our usual routine hamstring stretches, calf extensions, deep lunges. I kept my eyes forward, my breathing steady, forcing my mind to focus on anything but the way her shirt occasionally rode up, revealing a sliver of toned skin. Here, you're doing that wrong, Maya said suddenly, moving behind me. Before I could protest, her hands were on my waist, adjusting my posture. My breath hitched, but I tried to play it off. I'm starting to think you just like bossing me around, she laughed, her hands still firmly on my hips. Only because you need it. The contact lingered. Her fingers were firm but gentle, palms warm even through the fabric of my shirt. I expected her to step back, but she didn't, at least not right away. Instead, her hands stayed there, just for a moment too long. I swallowed, daring a glance over my shoulder. She was close, closer than usual. Her eyes met mine, and something flickered there, something I couldn't quite place. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but then she stepped back, clearing her throat. Let's do squats, she said, her voice a little rougher than normal. Sure. We moved to the squat rack, her positioning herself behind me for spotting. You got this, she said, her hands hovering just above my waist. I dipped down, feeling the strain in my thighs, and rose back up. Not bad, she said, nodding approvingly. We repeated the motion, her hands occasionally brushing my sides, her voice low and encouraging. The room was hot, stifling almost, and I could feel the tension rising with each repetition. Last one, I said, breathless. Go for it. I dipped down deeper this time, and as I pushed back up, my foot slipped on the slick mat. I yelped, stumbling backward, but Maya's hands caught me, pulling me upright before I could fall. Whoa! Got you! She breathed, her arms circling me firmly. I was pressed against her, her chest firm against my back, her breath warm on my neck. For a moment, neither of us moved, Her hands remained on my hips, her grip steady, but her breathing was heavier than it should have been. I twisted slightly, just enough to look back at her. Her eyes were wide, her lips parted, and there was something raw and unspoken in her gaze. My pulse thundered in my ears, my breath coming in short, sharp bursts. Neither of us moved. The world outside seemed to melt away, leaving just the echo of our breathing and the electric buzz of the gym lights. Her eyes dropped to my mouth. Just a flicker, but I saw it. I opened my mouth to say something, but the words never came. Before I could process it, she leaned in, her lips brushing mine so gently I almost didn't feel it. My breath caught, heart hammering, and she hesitated, her eyes searching mine for any sign to pull away. I didn't move. I couldn't. That tiny sliver of space disappeared as she pressed forward, the kiss deepening. Her hands tightened on my hips, pulling me closer, and I melted into it, my hands finding her shoulders instinctively. It was slow and tentative, like she was testing the waters, making sure this was real, that I was real. My hands slid up to her chest, fingers curling into the fabric of her shirt, pulling her closer. She responded instantly, her grip firmer, her breath mingling with mine in short, heated bursts. When we finally broke apart, her forehead rested against mine, both of us catching our breath. Neither of us spoke for a moment, the silence thick with everything unsaid. Her eyes flickered back to mine, wide and uncertain, but also hopeful. I swallowed hard, not sure what to say, if I should even say anything at all. But before I could speak, she pulled back, clearing her throat. We should probably get going, she mumbled, her voice barely above a whisper. Yeah, I replied, my voice equally shaky. We didn't say anything else as we grabbed our bags and headed out, but as we walked side by side to the parking lot, our hands brushed, just barely, but it was enough. Enough to know that everything had changed. The days that followed were a blur of tension and unspoken words. We still went to the gym, still went through the same routine, but there was something different now, something electric, that buzzed beneath every touch, every look. Neither of us mentioned what had happened in the stretching area. It just hung there between us, heavy and unresolved. I tried not to dwell on it, but my mind refused to let go. The way her hands had felt on my hips, the warmth of her breath on my neck, the soft press of her lips against mine it played on repeat, taunting me every time I closed my eyes. But she didn't say anything, and neither did I. It was easier to pretend, to just act like everything was normal, even if it wasn't. A week passed in slow motion, and I had just about convinced myself that it was nothing a fluke, a mistake, when my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Maya standing there, hands shoved deep into her pockets, eyes flickering with something I couldn't quite place. "Hey," she said, her voice a little rough. "Hey," I replied, stepping back to let her in. She walked in without hesitation, her shoulders tense, gaze fixed on the floor. I shut the door behind her, my heart pounding. "What's up?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she paced a bit, rubbing the back of her neck, her jaw tight. Finally, she stopped, turning to face me, her eyes steady and unflinching. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. My breath caught, and I swallowed hard. About what? She scoffed, her hands gesturing helplessly. You know what? I did. I knew exactly what, but hearing her say it made it real, made it impossible to ignore. I crossed my arms over my chest, suddenly feeling too exposed. Yeah, me neither. She nodded, her jaw working as she searched for the right words. I don't. I don't know what it means. I've never, I mean, I've never felt like that before. But with you, it's different. It feels right. I blinked, not trusting my voice. My heart was hammering so loud I was sure she could hear it. It's not just you, I said finally, the words spilling out before I could stop them. I've been feeling that way for a while. Her eyes softened, and for the first time, I saw something vulnerable there, something raw and real. She took a step closer, then stopped, hands still tucked into her pockets like she wasn't sure what to do with them. So, what do we do now? I exhaled, feeling the tension bleed out of my shoulders. I hadn't expected this. This openness, this honesty. It was like a weight lifting, a door finally cracking open. We figure it out, I said, my voice steady. We take it slow, see where it goes. She nodded, relief flickering across her face. Yeah, I'd like that. A silence stretched between us, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Not this time. It was just right. She finally moved her hands from her pockets, rubbing them together nervously. I was kind of freaking out about this all week, she admitted with a shaky laugh. Me too, I confessed. I didn't even know if you were going to talk to me again. She smiled, and it was warm, real. I'm not going anywhere. My chest tightened at that, and before I could think twice, I closed the distance between us, wrapping my arms around her. She stiffened for a second, then relaxed, her hands coming up to hold me just as tightly. We stayed like that for a while, neither of us saying anything, just existing in the moment. I pulled back first, just enough to look at her, her eyes searching mine. You want to stay for a bit? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She nodded, the hint of a smile playing on her lips. Yeah, I'd like that. We moved to the couch, the conversation flowing more easily now about life, about us, about what it all meant. There were still questions, still uncertainties, but for the first time, it felt like we were both ready to face them together. As she leaned back against the cushions, her arm brushing mine, I couldn't help but think back to that first call, a simple request to be her gym partner. And now this. It was like the world had shifted. Like everything I'd wanted, everything I hadn't even dared to hope for, was finally unfolding right in front of me. And for the first time, it didn't feel impossible. Sunlight spilled through the blinds, casting warm patterns across the floor. The apartment was quiet, save for the soft hum of the ceiling fan and the occasional creak of the wooden floorboards. I stood at the kitchen counter, pouring coffee into 2 mugs, the aroma rich and comforting. Behind me, I heard the soft shuffle of footsteps and turned to see Maya, hair tousled from sleep, rubbing her eyes as she wandered into the kitchen. She wore one of my old hoodies, sleeves too long, cuffs dangling around her wrists. Morning, I said, handing her a mug. She accepted it with a sleepy grin. Morning. We moved to the living room, settling into the couch, our legs stretching out comfortably. This had become our routine weekend mornings spent in quiet simplicity, just the 2 of us. It was still new, still surreal, but it felt like home. We sipped our coffee in silence, the sun climbing higher, filling the room with light. After a while, Maya set her mug down and leaned back, her gaze drifting out the window. I never thought I'd be here, she admitted softly, her voice thoughtful. Here? I asked, glancing at her. She smiled, her eyes meeting mine. Here, with you, doing this. She gestured around the room. Waking up next to you. It's kind of insane, I chuckled, setting my mug on the table. You saying you regret it? Her eyes shot back to mine, quick and firm. No, not even a little. She paused, then added, I just never saw it coming. I didn't know. I didn't know it could feel this easy. I felt my chest tighten, warmth spreading from my heart outward. Yeah, me neither. She turned to face me fully, her knee pressing against mine. You ever think about that first workout? I laughed, leaning back. You mean the one where you nearly killed me with squats? She smirked. Yeah, that one. If I hadn't called you that day. I nodded, the memory flooding back her voice on the phone, casual and unsuspecting. I know. Crazy to think about. Crazy, but good, she said, her voice softening. The best kind of crazy. We sat there for a moment, just taking it in the silence. The warmth, the unbelievable reality of it all. Finally, I leaned forward, resting my hand on her knee. So, where do we go from here? She grinned, shrugging. I guess we just keep going. See where it takes us? I nodded, the tension I hadn't realized I was holding melting away. Yeah, I'd like that. Maya's gaze held mine for a long moment before she leaned in, pressing her lips to mine, soft and familiar. I kissed her back, my hand sliding up to her shoulder, fingers curling into the fabric of her hoodie. When we finally pulled back, her eyes sparkled with something bright, something hopeful. Guess you make a pretty good workout partner after all, she teased. I rolled my eyes, laughing. Guess so. We settled back into the couch, the morning stretching out ahead of us, unhurried and full of possibility. Outside, the city moved on, oblivious to the small miracle unfolding in my living room. And I couldn't stop thinking about that first call. One simple request to work out together had led to everything I'd been quietly dreaming of for years. Maybe life was just a series of small decisions, one after another, that somehow led you exactly where you were meant to be. I glanced over at Maya, who was scrolling through her phone, her expression peaceful, content. She looked up and caught me staring, a soft smile spreading across her face. What? She asked. Nothing, I replied, smiling back. Just happy. She reached over, lacing her fingers through mine. Me too. And in that moment, surrounded by the warmth of the morning sun and the quiet comfort of her presence, I knew that this was just the beginning. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. And that's how a simple workout invitation became the greatest love story of my life. Sometimes the person you've been searching for has been right beside you all along. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and share it with someone who believes in unexpected love. And tell me in the comments, have you ever fallen for a friend? I'd love to hear your story. Don't forget to subscribe to Love Beyond Rules for more heartfelt lesbian love stories. Thank you for being here. And remember, love always finds a way.